Hello everyone, welcome to Urbanscape Bangalore. And in this episode, we will look at a long awaited video on peace lily propagation. So in this video, you will see two methods, one being the seed propagation method and the other is the plant division method. You can choose either depending on what your peace lily conditions are. So the peace lily starts blooming for me at least around the end of December to January months and blooms throughout the summer and the monsoon months. And during winter, they go through a phase of dormancy where the leaves remain but the flowering stops. So, the ideal time to collect seeds is obviously during summer when you see the flower spikes dry. So, let's pause here and learn more about the peace lily blooms. So, this stalk holding the flower is called the peduncle, and the white attractive flower like thing you see here is a modified leaf called spathe. And that is why when the peace lily blooms become old, the spathe turns green in color, and that is very normal even among its cousin, the anthurium. So the spathe gets back the chlorophyll element and starts assisting the plant with photosynthesis. Now, the actual flowers are found in this structure called the spadix. They have both so-called male and female parts in the same spadix. Now let's deep dive into some peace lily botany. So this round structure that you see at the base of these pimple-like structures are the anthers, or the so-called male parts that produce pollen, and the bumpy pimple-like parts are the stigma or the so-called female parts. So you can pollinate the blooms by stroking the spadix like this or use a paintbrush and collect the pollens and brush it against these pointy things. Or like I do, leave it to the elements of nature to fertilize the inflorescence. Now remember, not all flowers get fertilized. So what I do when the blooms dry is that I take the dried inflorescence and crush it slowly, and honestly finding the seeds in this cultivar is quite difficult. And I'm assuming it is there somewhere. It mostly could be in these brown needle-like structures, or they are these fat structures that look a little more distinct than the needle-like structures you see here. A deep investigation is needed here, which I will be undertaking sooner or later. Now, once you've dismembered the spadix to the seed dust, you can add them in a well-draining potting mix of 50% compost, 30% sand, and 20% garden soil. Now cover the seeds with some more of the potting mix and spray some water. If you add the seeds in a container that already has a plant growing, you would get better results. So this batch I have covered in the video was not successful, but the other batch I added in this container bore one peace lily plant, and that was enough to make me happy. And it is a slow grower. And here you can see the different phases of the seedling. But I must add here that during the paint job at home, the painters happily kept this under the tarpaulin cover and I forgot to water it for a few days, and you know how peace lilies behave when not watered. All the leaves dried, but did I give up? No. This was my first peace lily from seed, so I kept watering it for 3 weeks straight and I could finally see some green shoots of hope. So folks, never give up on your plant dreams, tend to them and see them flourish. So with that seed part of the propagation out of my chest, let us move on to the plant separation method. So I have this plant that has been growing in this pot for over 3 years, and the stunted leaf growth can be a sign of the plant being pot bound also. Remove such plants from the container carefully and use a sharp object like a knife, or in my case, a very precarious saw. Please don't try this at home. Don't worry, you are not doing any harm to the plant, and yes, the plant can go into shock for some days temporarily, but will be content with the fact that what's happening is for good. Now you can cut the plant into many segments as you feel like, making sure you get these segments with their entire root structure intact. Now I'm going to transplant this into this ceramic container. I'm adding a broken pot piece to cover the drainage hole, and for the potting mix I'm using 30% gravel sand, 40% of this loamy soil my brother got from Kerala, and 30% compost. This plant loves organically rich soil. Avoid using a cactus mix or a super well draining mix for your peace lilies because they are water hungry. And if you forget watering, their leaves droop but perk up when watered again. So a little bit of garden soil in the mix will do no harm. Coco peat can be added too. If you get a single segment like this, grow it in a smaller container like this. Now I'm adding this plant segment into the ceramic container and check the level. The plant must be placed a little below the rim and not above it. Also, don't add it too deep into the container for issues of aesthetics. An optimal plant level must be maintained. The plant is mildly toxic to pets and humans if ingested, so be careful. Now, water the plant thoroughly till you see the water draining out. So, for those of you who grow this indoors, don't immediately transfer it indoors. Keep it in an airy, shaded balcony that faces the east, preferably, and then slowly transition it indoors in a bright, sunlit area, preferably the south or the west. So, with this, an important topic I've always wanted to cover on this channel has come to fruition, and I'm glad I can move on to the peace lily problems and care tips in the coming days or months. So, stay tuned for that. So, as a reminder, I just want to tell you that the peace lily can be fussy, but if you get into its good books and learn from your experience, then see it bloom and become your best garden buddy in no time. And with this, we have come to the end of yet another episode of Urbanscape Bangalore, and I really hope you've enjoyed this particular program. Additionally, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are given below. And always remember, to grow slow is to grow well. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, a very warm goodbye.